Welcome to the game. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Nico Riesgo. Nico, how are
Russ Cohen, my man.
you? And Michael Jello, how are you?
Hello.
All right. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the New York Mets simply because uh, a couple of weeks ago, some guy on Twitter ripped me because the Mets had the fourth best pitching staff in baseball, and it was like third week in April. And I was like, dude, it's early. And he got mad at me. He's like, oh, how could you say that? That's so negative. I'm like, okay, whatever. Right. So I happened to look today after Quintana gave up in 2 2/3, 10 hits, and 8 earned runs. Now the Mets are 11th. And I bet you if I check again in another month, they'll be 15th. And, my whole point is this. The way this team was built, they built a 500 team. They expected to infuse some rookies this year and maybe make a deal at the deadline to try and get the last wild card spot. I don't think they're going to have it, and I honestly think they'll be trading Pete Alonso before that. Maybe I'll be wrong about that, and I'll be happily wrong about that if that happens. But I'm happy they're playing the young guys, Nico. But I know this team is a 500 or barely a 500 team. I can see the makeup of them.
You can see it now. And yes, the whole beginning of the season was a facade, and they have to be positive. They have to be confident. I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, you're definitely out of the game. So, on paper, they just can't compete. When you look at it, they can't even compete with the Nationals now. The Nationals have surpassed them. The Oakland A's have surpassed them. The Royals have surpassed them. I mean, they are right there with the Chicago White Sox when you're looking at the mess and the cleanup that's got to be done. And if they trade Alonso, then it's really just going to sink immediately. They're in trouble, and there's no way out.
Well, they got 10 more wins than the White Sox. I agree with you. Now, they may have enough hubris where they say, we're not going to trade Alonso, and we're just going to tell you Met fans that, he'll go looking around for an offer and come back. But I think that's a failed idea, Nico, because I think if he doesn't sign before this trading deadline comes in, you've got to trade him, regardless if he might come back or not. You have to get assets.
Absolutely. You got to get something.
Mike, what's your feeling here?
Yeah, no, I mean, going into the season, I think everybody realized, the Mets were selling their fans a bunch of bull crap because they're an average team. They traded off the two veteran pitchers last year in Scherzer and Verlander. They bring in sort of stopgaps, like Luis Severino, who's actually pitched well, but I mean, you're not serious about contending for a National League East title if you're bringing in Severino and Sean Manaea. It's like and their point of view. I mean, if they really wanted Alonso and they really wanted to sign him, they would have signed him in the offseason. They're stringing this out. So, in July, they're going to see what kind of offers they get. And, I think they'll probably end up trading him. And that will, I think, be the end of this particular Mets era. You still got good players. And I think that you're right. They did start, they are playing Beatty. They are playing Alvarez. But there's just not enough there.
Where's Marciano? He should have been in the lineup last year.
No. Mauricio tore his ACL in the offseason.
Okay.
He's missing the whole season. He'll be there next year. But, right now he's out.
Terrible break. They definitely needed him. He was the bright spot that, their future.
I mean, essentially all they did was plug holes with cheap, mediocre, Harris Bader, those type of guys, and that's not serious. And of course, the expectation is that when you've got the owner who's got $16 billion that he's going to spend, and he did last year and it didn't work, and now he's penny pinching, and the team is reflective of that.
Right. Okay. So, and Christian Scott's going to make his debut today. That's great. He's the Mets' best minor league pitcher at the moment. We'll see how he does. All right. So let's talk about the Miami Marlins, who really are a disgrace. And it's really bad in the sense that, how there's websites that want to talk about the grading of a trade, which I always think is ridiculous. But I'll give this guy RJ Anderson a plug on CBS because he gave the Marlins a D, and he's right. I mean, this to trade Luis Suarez, who I think is two-time winner of the batting title.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous to me, and we'll go to Mike first, that you would trade him now and you would get so little. Like, yes, you got 3 prospects, I get it. But, again, now we're going with CBS's rankings here, but like one of them is their 26th best prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you doing?
Well, I mean, this is reflective of a couple things. I mean, he's 27 years old. He's won a batting title in each league, one with the Twins now and one with the Marlins last year, which I think DJ LeMahieu and there's one other person like back in history, maybe Frank Robinson or something like that, has done. That's won batting titles in both leagues. This is a really good player, not a great defensive player, but a really great hitter. And he was sort of the centerpiece of that team when they brought him there in a trade from the Twins, and that was Kimming, who was the former assistant GM of the Yankees, who was the GM in Miami, and under the auspices of the Derek Jeter administration there. And there's a reason why she's not there and Jeter's not there, because the ownership and the new I can't even remember the new executive vice president of the team has decided they're going to go cheap and tank. Now, it's one thing to do that, okay, but get value for a guy as a 2-time batting champion. And I'm not saying they gave him away because I can't pretend to know the quality of the prospects, but this is absolutely asinine because you essentially gave away, and he's not it's like you have to start thinking, well, gee, this guy's now on his 3rd team and he's 27 years old. There must be something wrong with him. Well, no, the only thing wrong with him is he's been playing for organizations who don't care about winning.
Yeah,
and don't.
So, Mike, just so you know, LeMahieu was the first, Arias was the second. I think who we're thinking of, and you were thinking of, maybe is Willie McGee, because I think he didn't qualify when he got traded, but I think he because I think he was leading both leagues, but I think he only got the batting title in one. I think that's kind of how it worked.
Yeah, there was somebody back in the day, but LeMahieu was the most recent. It was like probably
he's first
in the 20s.
Yeah, the first, and Arias is the second. Nobody else has done it.
Okay, I thought there was somebody in like the 20s or 30s that they said had done it, but
No.
anyway. But
Well,
that's beside the point. But what my point is this is a quality player. He's young. It's not like they traded for a 34-year-old. They gave him away because they decided they're not going to contend after making the playoffs last year. This is a disgrace of an organization that remember, this is the same organization that had a good team. They built a stadium in Miami, and as soon as they built the stadium, they fired Ozzie Guillen and they traded half the team away. This is a team that gave away Giancarlo Stanton for almost nothing. They're a disgrace of an organization.
Well, to be fair, he hasn't been worth a lot.
No, but Russ, the point is, you couldn't read the landscape and know he was going to be injured for all the time. But yeah, I think he was 29 years old and hit 59 home runs, and they gave him away for what? That wasn't Miguel Cairo. It was some second baseman who played for the Cubs that Castro, I think it was. But
Castro, yeah.
Yeah, but they gave him away. They've given Arias away. Gee, it's like, let's go to the dollar store and get an all-star second baseman. Thank you very much.
Well, they didn't give the statue away. Nico, so what's your thought on this?
It's the sign of the times. And you look at the economy, you take a look at the game, you take a look at the fans in the stands, you take a look at Scott Boris's recent free agent bank account bust. There's no free agent market. These players, as great as Arai is, one of the greatest player, Hall of Fame target, and there's no team that's really going to give him the $100 and $200 million contract that he deserves. And a lot of these players are in the same situation. They're great, outstanding players. They're actually a greater talent. They're outplaying their market price. They're way the market, the price for these like Snell. You got to give Snell $300 million now, like the Dodgers did Yamamoto. You can't do that. The whole game is broken. The system is broken. And a lot of these teams are backpedaling and just trying to clear the roster space. to try to start all over again.
Yeah, there's 9 teams under 20,000 a game, which is crazy. Because if we go back not that long ago, stadiums like Shea Stadium, the Vet, excuse me, would hold 60,000. Now they build stadiums to hold 40, and some of them can't even get full attendance on that, except there's still a little bit of older ones. Dodger Stadium holds more, but so Oakland's averaging, 5,900, almost 6,000. Okay, we get why, and clearly there's not that many showing up. Miami,
I'm sure they'll pack them in Sacramento.
Yeah, Miami 12,597, disgusting. Tampa 15,562, terrible. Kansas City 15,581, who they're a decent team, terrible. The White Sox 16,453, and we went there last summer and it was empty. Pittsburgh 17,392, Detroit 18,319, Minnesota 18,884, and Cleveland 19,630. Like, what is going on here? I hope, and this is where I'm going to roll it into, and then we can chat about it. I'm going to roll this into the Apple Friday game and soon to be Roku Sunday morning games, because even though people online pointed out, hey, you could get the Roku channel for free, you can't get Roku for free unless you have a Samsung TV and the app and whatever. Then you could get it for free because you got that TV. If you don't have that Samsung TV, then you need the Roku piece of hardware for $28. And I'm getting really tired of just missing games because I don't have a fourth service to watch this sport on.
Well, nobody's going to buy a Roku just to watch one game on a Sunday morning. So, I mean, it's a money-making grab for Major League Baseball. But, I mean, to your point, it was appointment television for me just to turn on the Yankee game, and it'd be on Yes. Now, on Friday nights, the games are on Apple or Amazon, and there are other games during the week that are on Apple or Amazon because it's the Yankees. And now you go to the radio and John Sterling is no longer there to listen to. So it's it discourages, and I'm just talking about my particular, the team that I follow.
We only care about you, Mike.
Right, you should. That's true. But I'm saying for other fans in other markets, it's similarly more difficult to just go and watch and listen to the games. And now I think people are going to the MLB.com and looking at the game in 6 minutes and not spending the time and enjoying what we've enjoyed either as players or as fans over the years. And I think that is going to be a detriment to the game going forward. I mean, Russell, the only reason the people were there with Guaranteed Rate Field last August when we went was because there was a country music concert.
That's true. So they packed them in for that. There was some people for that.
Yeah, there were 25,000 people, but I'd say 20 of them were there for that. Nobody was there to see Andrew Benintendi. No. So, and then that is the disgrace.
That's too bad. I like the exploding scoreboard. That's fun.
Yeah. And that is the disgrace in Major League Baseball right now. You've got teams. I mean, we just talked about Miami, who are not interested in winning. The White Sox were interested in winning this year. They added players. they suck. They are terrible.
They have 6 wins.
Yeah, they're 6-26. They are a disgrace, and they're not the only ones. Colorado, I don't think I don't know how serious they are about winning. They're 8-24. The National League, the reigning National League champion, Arizona Diamondbacks, are 14-19. So you've got a crap load of mediocrity in this league, and I think that is one of the reasons why fans are just not interested right now.
Yeah, I mean, so. It looks like, if this is right, the 62 Mets were 12-19 coming out of April, something like that. I got to tell you, Chicago's on pace to beat the 62 Mets. Hard to believe. Nico, what's your feeling?
I feel that's very impotent of them. What a situation. Reinsdorf has gone through a couple of general managers over the last couple of years. Chris Getz is the latest, I guess, puppet, because he doesn't really do anything without making any moves.
Isn't it his son that's doing it? He doesn't do anything anymore.
Possibly. I think he's given up on winning. I asked him a few years ago, you're going to get one more before, the curtain calls. And he said, absolutely, yes. And that was his quest. He wanted one more.
He's 88 years
And
old.
it seems like when they got rid of the manager that they had, their world championship manager, that they had a team formulating with a brew in the mix there, probably about 3 years ago. They were right in the hunt of a World Series championship. Just need a couple pieces, and they've just let that team disintegrate. And now we see where they're at now.
Yeah, it's terrible. So actually, yeah, the Reinsdorf family still owns the Bulls, and it doesn't look like. Oh, it looks like is maybe one of the kids is sort of keeping an eye on the the White Sox, sort of. Okay, it's hard to tell from here. So let's talk about the Yankees, Mike.
Sure.
The good and the bad. I'll tell you the bad part for them.
Mhm.
And this is surprising. They're fifth in attendance. Like they shouldn't be fifth in attendance.
Yeah, but being a longtime fan and somebody who goes to Yankee Stadium, makes a pilgrimage once a year, their attendance in April usually is pretty slow. It really picks up in May, June, and July because a lot of the there's a regular fan base of, I'd say, 10 to 15,000, but the rest, now probably more than half, are people like me who travel to New York, who come into games, once or twice a year. So.
Right.
That sort of transience. I mean, that I think that more is going to happen more in, when in the summer, late spring and summer months and early fall, because the weather. I mean, you go to a game in April, you don't know if the game's going to get played because of rain and stuff like that. But there's a lot of excitement right now with the Yankees. They've played very well in general right now. They're 21-13. Yeah, they did not play well against Baltimore in Baltimore, 4 games.
To win the World Series, I might add.
Well, that is a team with, so much young talent with Henderson and Rutschman, and Jackson Holiday was the best prospect in baseball. He didn't play very well, and I don't even know if they sent him back down.
Like
I think
35 and then got sent.
Cedric Mullins.
Cedric Mullins is playing well, and they got Corbin Burns.
Corbin Burns was a coup.
Now their problem right now is that their closer Batista just is done for the year with Tommy John, so they're probably gonna have to go out. They're using the old Red Sox closer, who's I'm drawing a blank on, as their but they're using him as their closer right now. They're probably gonna have to trade for somebody. But
here's something, Mike, just while you're talking about him. How did Cole Irvin get to a point where he's got 20 2/3 scoreless innings? That's getting close to Oral Hershiser territory.
Well, it wasn't Hershiser's in the playoffs, and that's a little different. But yeah, no,
Hershiser, he was 30-something innings, right?
So. Yeah, it was something like that. But yeah, Cole Irvin, 2.86 ERA right now.
I've had him 12, 15 times over the years on fantasy teams, and you end up cutting him at some point.
Yeah, Craig Kimbrell is who I was talking about in terms.
Okay.
So they're gonna have to get themselves a closer. With the Yankees right now, Soto has been a big hit. He's been great, especially that 4-game series at the beginning of the year in Houston. He stuck it to the Houston Cheaters, which was great. And the Astros are not a good team this year. But right now, like as usual, some of the star players have started out slow. Judge missed a lot of spring training and is only now starting to hit. There's Volpe has been pretty decent. The question is whether they can continue to get the pitching that they're getting. Luis Heel, who's came off Tommy John surgery, has stepped into the rotation and played very well. But I
guess they're not missing Severino. Oh well, although he pitched a good game last game, but he's been mediocre.
Who, Heel?
No, Severino. I said they're not missing him.
Yeah, no, but Severino, he's got good stats. But I don't know how successful he's in terms of, overall. But with the Yankees, obviously, what's right now is they're waiting for Cole, and the news that came out yesterday was encouraging that he is now throwing off the mound. So, it's he's not going to be back next week. They're going to be very slow. I will bet you anything he's going to be back after the All-Star break. But if they get him back, Rodon has pitched decently. Cortez has pitched okay. Their bullpen, they seem to be able to pull out bullpen guys out of nowhere, like Luke Weaver, and just get them to pitch well, which is a testament to Blake, their pitching coach. They have a closer who gives everybody agita in Clay Holmes, but in general, they've pieced together a good pitching staff. Their hitting has been good in general, but against Baltimore, they only scored 6 runs in 4 games. They're going to be a playoff team, but it's a question of what they do in the playoffs and whether Cashman has the okay from Hal Steinbrenner to add at the deadline, which I think they want to win this year. I think they want to convince Soto to stay around long term. So they'll throw extra money at this year because I think they see a chance to win.
Yeah, no, I think
Soto,
Nico, hold
I'd
on.
like to interject on that comment.
One sec. I did want to mention that I did watch Severino's game last week, 8 innings, 1 hit. I didn't want Met fans to get mad at me, but I still think he's been a little underwhelming, but I know the stats are probably better than what he is. Nico, go ahead.
Yeah, so about Juan Soto, he's jumped off to, I would say, a good start, okay? Not a spectacular start. He had a good opening season there with the Astros, bearing down every single at-bat, won a few of those games in the late innings. But over the time I've been watching him, and the Yankees, I don't think, if I was the general manager, I'm not going to pull the plug on this guy. I'm not going to give him $200 million. I'm not going to give him $300 million. I think this guy is a great talent, and I think the chemistry on the team, watching the Yankees play together as a team, I don't think they really are rallying behind him. I don't think as a team, it's more of a competition between him and Judge and Stanton. I just don't see the synergies. And I do see the Yankees letting Soto go to someone else who may be able to find some synergies for him.
And honestly, I haven't seen that at all. I've seen him being sort of accepted by Judge. I mean, he's not. Judge has got his contract. He's locked up for another, I think, 8 years. It only benefits him if they bring in more talent and that left right left right combo. I mean, Stanton is what he is. He can't run anymore. He's going to probably be like a 220 hitter with 30 home runs. If it was me, I would waive him. I'd designate him for assignment, but they're going to keep him around at least another year. But that 1-2 punch of Judge and Soto, I mean, I think it's been awesome. I mean, he did great in the first series, and then he slumped a little bit, and then he came back. I mean, he's still hitting in the three. I think he's hitting over 300. He's hitting for power.
But I'm saying they've got younger players in the league that they can get for $10 million a year, $7 million a year, $8 million a year. Soto's not the $40 million a year guy that the Yankees need. And I think it's going to crumble and fall in the Yankees' face if they do sign off on that deal.
I wouldn't mind seeing that happening. But all kidding aside, I don't know. I think they're going to sign him. Let's move on now.
Let me just finish with this. If there are those guys like you just said, Nico, on the open market, Brian Cashman will go out and pay for them. Now they do have young guys in the organization. I mean, I think Jason Dominguez is going to be a star. And he showed a little bit of that before he had to have Tommy John surgery, and he probably won't be back until after the All-Star break. But if you add him and his left-handed bat into that lineup with Soto and Judge, my God.
That's a better lineup. That's a better synergy.
All right, enough Yankee talk. Say I give you a second and you filibuster. Let's talk about the best pitcher in baseball, Ranger Suarez. He's got like DeGrom numbers right now. His April was unbelievable. He was 5-0. He has a 1.32 ERA. He's got a 0.63 WHIP. Already 41 innings. Like his problem the last couple of years was he would sort of fade down the stretch, and I think he's finally figured it out. He's 28. If he is this good, the Phillies are definitely a team to watch out for because they've been missing that other pitcher, that other great pitcher to kind of go with Wheeler. And so this could be a big deal for them, Nico.
Absolutely. I love Suarez. Suarez actually came out last year in the playoffs and just showed out. He actually probably the ace of that team, the leader of that team.
Right now he is.
Goes in there. Yeah, he goes in there and he throws strikes. He goes right after these hitters. He's fearless. And that's exactly what the Phillies need with the leader on the mound. And that's a great compliment because they know what a bulldog Wheeler is, and they know what a bulldog Nola is. But they're a little older, and to have a young bulldog like Suarez come up to lead the old bulldogs and light a fire under them, I love it. I love it. The Phillies are going to go deep in this playoff run.
Well,
It depends on their health. Turner's hurt now. He hurt his hamstring. He hasn't been able to run well this year. And Harper's not exactly Harper. So they'll be a playoff team. I just don't know how far they're going.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's for real, I mean, you look at their rotation right now, and other than Aaron Nola is the guy bringing up the back with a ERA of 3.32, which is actually excellent. But Wheeler under 2, Suarez under 2, Spencer Turnbull under 2, Sanchez fifth starter is at 3.6. So they're getting amazing pitching from their entire rotation. Suarez is standing out right now, and the thing that stands out for me is 5 walks. 5 walks, 6 starts. If he maintains that, he's a Cy Young winner.
Yeah, no question. Nico, as far as teams that are disappointing, we're going to go right with your Houston Astros, and boy, they suck.
And they deserve it. Dana Brown has made the biggest mistake in baseball, signing closer Hader for that team, and just put a Hader in the locker room. The team is not going to rally around this guy. Who wants to rally around a pitcher who doesn't want to take the 8th inning when the game's on the line? To me, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in the game. And the Astros deserve everything they get, and even fire Dana. That's what I would do.
All right, Mike.
Well, I mean, my feelings on this organization, but the thing is, I mean, they do have a lot of talent, but it's a question of whether after spending boatloads of money and winning winning the World Series more than once, whether their ownership is going to say, okay, we've got this group that is starting to get old, whether there's going to be a diaspora of their roster. I mean, I'm sure you could sell off an Altuve very easily, but I'm sure they probably don't want to trade him. But that'll be the question. If they wallow at the bottom of their division of the AL West and they're not competitive, whether, and I don't know their contract situations, but whether they decide they're going to trade off some of these guys who've been the linchpins of their contending teams over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise about the Dodgers. We don't need to talk about them. I mentioned the Cubs as being a really good team this year. So far, so good. But again, best manager in baseball is Craig Counsell. You could fight me on that one if you want, but the Brewers should not be 20-11. They shouldn't be.
No, but I mean, the Cubs have benefited from the Japanese pitcher that they brought in, who I think is 5-0, Imanaga. I mean,
Imanaga has been a great surprise because we all kept hearing that, well, he's good, but he's not the best. He's okay. And man, I watched him the other night against the Mets. He's really good. Yeah,
he's isn't he sort of like Hideo Nomo-ish with sort of a distracting delivery. He's not like
Hideo Nomo with the beer belly, yeah.
Or Luis Tion, something distracting hitters.
That's it. He is like, because Tion always had that pear shape too, but Tion fooled everybody. Imanaga's similar. Yeah, I like that.
He's Hideo Nomo with Hideki Arabu's body.
Right. Without the magnets. No magnet. That guy used to put magnets all over his body.
I'd like to talk about some of these young players that we see dynamic. Ellie Cruz for the Reds, MVP, obviously National League MVP candidate right off the rip. He's done something that hasn't been done since 1901. He's got over 8 home runs, and he's on I think 11 stolen bases or something. He's on pace to do a 40-90 type of number. Just a phenomenal talent.
I can no longer get behind the same way in the steroid era. I can no longer get behind like the amount of 30-30 guys, 40-40 guys that we're going to see because of the abomination of baseball's rules as far as making it so easy to steal, limiting the throws over, making the bags much bigger. Like, it's ridiculous how much, the Mets have thrown out like 1 base runner all year, maybe 2. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Met fan, because it's just, that's laughable, but it is so easy to steal now. So I can't put too much stock in stolen bases right now.
I mean, Nico, if we were operating at the rules that we're operating at now, back in the late 70s and early 80s, a guy
Oh
like
my
Alan,
God.
a guy like Alan Wiggins would have stolen 200 bases. Ricky Henderson would have
Open
stolen
would have.
200
Yeah,
bases.
Ricky would have too.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it's obscene, and
Yeah.
again, this is the atrocity and the abortion of Rob Manfred and his crap. And I won't even go into the ghost runner bull crap that he's put through. It really has, I think, is another reason why the game maybe he did it to try to speed up the game and make it more fan friendly and friendly to maybe a younger demographic. And all I think it's done is it's alienated the older demographic, which is stupid.
It's not
Yeah,
baseball anymore. It's not baseball because when you get a runner on base who's the eighth hitter, who's slow like a Vogelbach or something like that, and he's stealing out their bases, and they're highlighting him as as the guy who's to change the rules because of him. Um, the pitcher cannot throw over more than two times. Oh, that's an automatic stolen base right there. Once they got that second throw over,
oh
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, the guy's going to take a halfway lead to second base, and he's there. I mean, it's not baseball. That rule right there has got to go. It's got to go by next year.
Yeah, I wrote
It won't
about
be
it
here.
on Sportsology. I think it has to go. I think they need to just tweak it again because it's just way too easy. I don't want to see it like records being broken because artificially. That's what always bugs me. It's like don't make it so easy that all of a sudden you're going to tout these records. Like, yeah, Dela Cruz has 19 steals. Um, Lane Thomas has 11. Like, these guys shouldn't have this many steals. They're all going to have 40 and 50 by the end of the year. Now, Acuna would have them. That guy would have them in any year. I give it to you. But man, I just look at some of these steal numbers and it's just ridiculous. That's all. We'll just leave it at that. Well, that's it for the game. We'll catch everybody next time.
My man.
See ya.